Oh, hello. It's time for another Kill Team Battle Report. This time, my Starstriders versus Mrs. Tabletop Dastardly Legionnaires. Before we get into it, I'm going to try asking at the start of the video if you could give me a like and a comment and a subscribe and all these things. It does genuinely really help out, so please do consider that. And if you want to be even better, you can look at the channel membership button down the bottom as well. Okie dokie, let's get into it. So the game, it was actually, in lots of ways, pretty similar to the previous battle report against Zimbad's Harlequins. Once again, pulled Mission Be Secure, so that's where you've got to use an action point while on the objective to score the victory point. We drew Junction, which is pretty similar, but not quite the same as the frontline map that we had last time I played. And then Mrs. TI took Seek and Destroy, and it was Rout and Eliminate Guards, which is, amusingly, those are the two tac ops that Zimbad chose. And she took Dark Desecration, which you'll see why when you see the map in a minute. So Dark Desecration, if two or more enemy operatives are incapacitated while within black of a terrain feature, you score 1 VP. If you achieve the first condition at the end of the battle and the total APL of friendly operatives within black of the terrain feature is greater than that of enemy operatives, you score 1 VP. I once again took Reputation to Maintain and Recover Item, and I decided to swap out Courier, which I failed to score last time, with Plant Transponder, because based on the advice I got from Zimbad, I thought I'd give that one a go. So here's the map. First of all, before I get into the actual turning point, I want to talk about the terrain layout a little bit, because I know it's really interesting to people. So a thing to note about Morok, this is one Morok box. I joked about this when we were setting it up. I don't know how you make a good layout on Morok and actually use the little corner pieces and make a little walled gardeny bit. And it was very, very difficult to make a decent corner deployment map with one box of Morok terrain. Obviously, the top deployment zone here is the better one with the reasonably easily accessible, the vantage and the heavy cover. A bit like the big block of heavy cover. There's less heavy cover on this side, but to balance out a little bit, they do have reasonably quick access to the sort of super invulnerable vantage points up here. So yeah, pretty balanced with a slight preference to this one. Mrs. TI was the defender and chose to go first, and you can just about see her marines down here. So I will get the pen because people have told me I need to make things much clearer. I'm going to go with bright red for the chaos. So we've got the leader right here. I believe it's the anointed here. The icon fellow is here. We've got a sorcerer, a heavy bolter, and a plasma gun down here. I can't imagine. I think the plasma gun is in the middle. The sorcerer is here on engage. And I think the heavy bolter is here. I don't know if I mean the anointed for this one. It's not the demony one. Is that the anointed? It's the one with the sort of daggers that does the terror thing. I forget his name. For my side, I had the Euclidean Starstriders. So key things to point out. Scouting phase has been done in this picture. So Helen picked Fortify, and you can see the extra barricade of hers is here. I had a dash, so I've dashed the chain gun guy up to here in the scouting stays, and then I also used the fact that the Rogue Trader team can spend one of their Rogue Trader points to flex into having two scouting options, which I think is a really good pick these days, to put a barricade up here. My other scouting picks, my other sort of Rogue Trader picks, by the way, were an extra command point and the extra equipment points. So for me, you've got the engineer guy here, Doggo here, a lasgun guy over here. These are all on conceal. The medic, I think, is here. Euclidia Vane on engage. The Master at Arms and another lasgun trooper there. And then up here, we've got a lasgun trooper here, and the assassin here on engage. My basic thought is I always keep the assassin. I tend to try and keep the assassin and Euclidean Vein on engage because they have, indirect weapons. Even though they are only short range, I often find with Undaunted Explorers that gives you the +1 inch movement. You can really. It's not infrequent that you can get a shot with your indirect weapons at range red with this team in Turning Point 1. I didn't think there was any reason to keep anyone else on an engage though. So let's look at what happened over the Turning Point. Again, I'm probably not going to get the order totally right. Essentially, this for my side, I sort of sent this las rifle up here. Heading towards this objective and also heading towards some free space where I could plant a transponder. The dog quite handily came over here. We can see here on this map here. So that's the dog, and he is on top of. He has captured the token for the retrieval TACOP. Okay, my engineer has just moved up to here, captured the objective, and turned on his "if you come near me, you'll get D6 mortal wounds" field. I got the first turn, by the way, and the engineer moving was the first move that I did. Really important because otherwise he could have been hit by the Psyker coming up here and doing the barrage thing, and then caught all of these behind here, and I would have had a bad time. And then the rest of my guys. So really, the only real play, the assassin, who you can see here, I did send her up here to try and throw a crack grenade after Helen had advanced her leader here. Unfortunately, the crack grenade just whiffed and did nothing. And then I ended up sending, so you can see here, Euclidean Vein, the medic, the master at arms, and a random armsman, all kind of clustered on this objective because I needed them to be making progress up the board, and they just kind of got clogged up there a little bit. For my wife's part, she sent both the plasma gunner and the heavy bolter guy up here to hunker down behind this light cover, but they didn't actually do anything. The librarian, the psyker, just moved to this position here. The leader and the knives fellow, whose name I can't remember, advanced forwards and they took this objective. And the icon bearer advanced forwards and took this objective. And really, that was the entire of the first turn. So I'd scored 2 for the primary, +1 for holding my retrieval thing, and Mrs. T had scored 2 for the primary and no secondaries at that point. So then we headed into Turning Point 2. It was a pretty bloody Turning Point 2, in fairness, in a lot of ways. Now, it's going to take me quite a little while to go through all the things that happened in Turning Point 2, to be perfectly fair. So, the first turn. Do you know, I honestly can't remember the first turn went to. But essentially, we opened up over here the sorcerer who started life up here. Yeah. No, he started here. He moved to over here. There we are. He moved to over there, and he was then able to target Euclidia with his annoying blast power. You'd think I'd have learned after the last game that I kind of mentioned where I played against my wife and those big blast happened. So the big blast that caught all 4 of those, happily, you can just about see here, the armsman here is reduced to 5 wounds. The medic here was reduced to 1 wound. Euclidia was killed, brought back on some wounds, and then later I healed the wounds later in the turn. And the Master at Arms, I think, was reduced to 2 wounds. And then, of course, I had my assassin here. I think this may have been the first shot of the turn. So the plasma pistol then came into the assassin. Oh no. So, sorry. Yes, that happened with the sorcerer. And then the next thing I did, I was paranoid that my dog was going to get plasma gunned. So rather than do anything with the assassin, I'm pretty sure what I did was I moved the dog to here. Okay. And then he passed. And then the leader here, the Chaos Space Marine, sorry, I have been asked to use different colours and I'll try and remember. The Chaos Space Marine leader activated, plasma guns my assassin, who was in a ridiculously far forward position, you know, due to my own hubris. Plasma pistols the assassin, and then decides to do a charge on the shotgun trooper. They did a combat with the shotgun trooper. I believe, obviously, he kills the shotgun leader. I believe that the shotgun guy did do some wounds, like 3 wounds to him, something like that. I think 3 wounds to him. There was some number of wounds came off. And then in my sort of turn, you can see Euclidia moved up and around. My basic plan with Euclidia, really moving her up, I was going to try to shoot the fella that on this screen you can see over here. He was still there when I moved Euclidia, so I shot him with my indirect pistol. I did some wounds, but not enough to kill him. After much umming and ahhing on my wife's part, he did not charge Euclidia because he felt like he would. He's only on 5 wounds. He did not feel like he'd win that combat, so he actually just came round here to take this objective, which was a little bit sad. Over here, though, and this was quite funny, the Chaos Space Marine leader that was here, so I actually called down from this Starstrider, I called down my orbital bombardment, which took him down to 1 wound, and then in my next activation, I did use a lasgun to kill his last wound, so that was pretty good. The medic had healed Euclidia, and then didn't really do anything else, because she didn't really do anything else. Up here, I moved the Starstrider slightly forward. I actually moved it to slightly the wrong place. I should have moved it there because I wasn't quite in my opponent's territory. I moved it forward and placed my transponder, which was an illegal move, but we didn't realise till much later. But obviously, from where she was, she did have enough move to get to about here. So when you're seeing this on the diagram, just imagine she's there, and we corrected it later. Once we realised what happened. So that's kind of that for the left-hand flank. Over on the right-hand side, the icon bearer came right across, sort of from here on this picture. He came right across like this to shoot and kill the dog, which is what this dropped token is all about. And then he'd shot and killed the dog. Helen was feeling pretty frustrated on this flank because my guy up here, plus the threat of the orbital barrage, she was really scared to really do very much up here. And then, so having done that, the plasma guy, I forget what he did. He climbed up onto the roof. He shot somebody. I think he took a shot at Euclidia. He got 3 hits, or 2 hits and a crit, and I just rolled 2 saves and a crit save with my 4-up invulnerable save. So then he cried, because that's not what you expect to happen with plasma, and he just kind of walked backwards off the roof and hid, because the plasma gunner is a coward. The chain gun didn't actually do anything. I ended up double passing with the chain gun. But he had done something. He'd exerted a presence over this whole kind of cone area here, right? So he's exerted his presence here. but he hasn't actually killed anybody. And then finally, my Tech Priest, who you can see here, I did this for my last activation of the game, because obviously I'm opening myself to Overwatch. He basically scored me 2 victory points by himself. You know, he's a total Chad. He came over here. He used his free Electro Priest thing to charge up his pistol. He shot the Icon Bearer here, which is why the Icon Bearer ends up on 1 wound. Oh, sorry. We're not done. Which is why the Icon Bearer ends up on 1 wound. And then he claims the objective for free with a free... yeah, so he moves 1 AP, does a free Electro Priest thing, he shoots 1 AP, he claims the objective for free, and he's within circle of the objective that the dog dropped as well, which means he also scored the 2nd point on that. So at the end of that turn... I've scored, let me see here, I've scored 3 for objectives, primaries. Mrs. T.I. has also scored 3 for primaries. Euclidia Vane, who had, obviously the one where you've got to get loads of kills, she hadn't quite finished it yet, but she had gotten secured some kills, and crucially, I'd killed Helen's leader, so I knew that I was getting at least 1 VP from there. And of course, I'd finished my thing of controlling this twice as well, and I'd dropped 1 of my tokens. For my wife's thing, she'd killed the shotgun fella here, who was her eliminate guards target. And I believe she'd killed somebody for rout as well. I can't remember exactly. Might have been the same shotgun guy. It might have been the dog. One of them counted. I think if you do 2 in the same turn, it doesn't count. But one of them certainly counted for rout. So we're both scoring pretty evenly at this point as we go into turning point 3. So turning point 3. Turning point 3 was pretty interesting. So you can see... You know, there's less going on. So the biggest thing I had going on in Turning Point 3 was I really wasn't sure what to do with Euclidia to the best possible effect. So again, apologies, I'm not going to remember the exact order of how things happened over here, but Euclidia, who starts life over here, she eventually, what we did was she came over to the objective, claimed the objective, and shot the sorcerer with her again with her pistol, doing a decent amount of wounds to the sorcerer, but not killing him. The sorcerer then decides to charge Euclidia and fight. So he's come down here onto objective 1. He charges and fights Euclidia, kills her, but in the ensuing combat, I managed to do 6 wounds to him, which took me over the 12 wound threshold for that secondary. So Euclidia was dead, but I'd scored 2 VP from that secondary. And then he... I had claimed it. The sorcerer came down and reclaimed it for the Chaos Space Marines. And then we've got... Oh... My memory is really struggling. So this fella here with the knives, he came down here, he charged and killed both of these because Mrs. T had activated the stratagem where you get to double fight. So they're both gone. So that's why he's there down there with his 5 wounds, right? My little Starstrider here that had been ignored just came up and captured this, okay, and then did nothing else. I called down my artillery strike on the sorcerer who was here, who had been shot by Euclidia and then critted in combat by Euclidia, and the guided shell managed to take down the rest of his health, so he is now gone. over on the right-hand side of the table, the tech priest. So the tech priest is here. He kills this guy with his pistol who's on 1 wound, and then he basically came up here and planted his other VP signal beacon thing, which was fine. So he's up there. And then we had the heavy bolter came down here to this VP, took the VP, and then shot and killed the tech priest in the back. Okay? The plasma gun... What did the plasma gun do? I feel like the plasma gun climbed up and took another shot at Euclidia, and she didn't die from it, and she took some wounds, because that 4-up invulnerable save. Like, I feel like that's what happened. Because, obviously, I'm not going through every dice and throw. You've got to remember, Euclidia kept... I used the stratagem to put wounds in. I used the medic to put wounds back in. Like, I think at some point he just came up and did another shot and then jumped back down. I'm pretty sure that's what the plasma gunner did there. Now, somewhere in all this, Helen scored a second thing for kill the guards. I think the tech priest might have been the guard, and she's killed her things for rout as well easily. So she's now scored 2.5 for attack ops because she's killed enough people within an inch of this central giant piece of terrain, and she has killed 2 guards, and she has done rout twice. For my part, by the end of this turn, I had... I forgot a little move. The chain gun opened up in turning point 3 and reduced this guy here on the end of turn picture, reduced the icon bearer down to 4 wounds, I think it was. So, sorry, I was doing a rundown of the VP. So I had scored... capture the... sausages, I always call it, capture the item, right? I'd got both points from that. I had both points from placing my transponders down. I'd done that, and I effectively had both. I knew you add them at the very end, but I knew I had both points from not Claim Val's Vein, from the reputation to maintain. So I knew I'd done all of those. But likewise, Mrs. T.I. knew she'd done everything, except the only one that was still to play for was at the end of the game, she had to control the landing pad in the centre. And we were still level pegging on the primaries. So yeah, it was a very, very close at this point. Sort of, I'm notionally 1 ahead going into turning point 4. So turning point 4, again, didn't have very much to play with. It's going to be a very quick turn. So Mrs. T.I. went first, and basically all she did, activate this fellow, stick him on conceal, and flip the objective, right? Because that's a 2-point swing, flipping that objective there. Okay? And then I activated the chain gun and killed the heavy bolter before he could activate. Okay? And then the plasma guy came up and killed the Starstrider that was unactivated over there. This ended the game, and so this was then a 3-point swing in favour of Mrs. T.I. because she got 1 more. She captured a primary and took it off me, so she was now scoring 4 on the primary to my 2. Plus, she got her last secondary point for holding the middle. So it ended up being a 2-point victory for my lady wife. Again, it was a close game. It was a really fun game. I enjoyed it. It would be nice to win now and again, but it was closer and funner, and every game I play in practice I can see myself getting a little bit better understanding of what's going on. So let's get into the wrapping up phase. I had fun. It was a fun game. This is the second game in a row where I've lost my assassin really early on, and I really think the assassin is the most powerful. I really think the assassin is the most powerful piece that the Starstriders have, but that grenade keeps making me want to really run at the board. So, like, I'm noodling in my head because at Warhammer World, like, I remember, and you kind of get kind of high off the memory of, I remember an amazing turn where I was able to, like, throw a grenade, no, like, charge, kill an orc, right? And then, having killed an orc, throw a grenade at his mate and kill that orc. And I'm constantly trying to recapture that big swing of being able to kill two people with one model in one activation by doing charge, fight, and charge, fight, and then throw a grenade. It doesn't seem to work out. Maybe possibly because Mrs. Ti and Zimbad are both just a better caliber of opponent who are going to see that and not let me have it. Possibly what I need to do is put the crack grenade on a Starstrider, send the Starstrider forward, and then because then if the Starstrider throws a crack grenade and ends up in a stupid position, yes, you would have to spend to move and dash and throw the grenade. You will have to spend a point to get your third APL. But it might be worth doing it that way. I don't know. I'm mulling it around. I'd love your if you can see where, I know I've been very vague, but if you can see where I'm going wrong or you've got any suggestions, I'd love to have them. I wonder if that might be better rather than being reckless with the assassin. But I think also if I'm too cagey with the assassin, she'll never actually get into combat. Like, the reason I give her the grenade is because I know that she wants to be moving up the field and she doesn't have a ranged weapon anyway, right? And then that gives me two characters, the assassin and Euclidia, who can both potentially do the charge, fight, shoot thing, right? Which is pretty cool. So I'm going to go to Warhammer World just before, I'm going to say just before the February half term, which is going to mean nothing to anybody. I haven't got my dates in front of me. Whatever the Kill Team event in February on the Saturday, I'm going to that one. So I'm going to have at most two more practice games against, well, basically two more each. Two more practice games against Zimbad and two more practice games against Mrs. Ti, and we'll see how we go with that. So if you're going to be at that February event, look for me there. And hopefully, I'm hoping actually, because people said in the previous one, unless they were just being polite when they said that they enjoyed the video, if you were, then whoops, because now you've got another one. But there you go. I'm hoping, 4 more practice games, I'm hoping to win, preferably, I'd win 2 of those practice games, right, and get a win against Zimbad. Preferably, I'd win all 4, but I'm being realistic. I'd love to get a win against both Zimbad and against Mrs. Ti. But if I can just win one of them, then that will be a massive boost to my confidence, because at the moment, I'm just... I have an expectation of winning about half the games I play, and it doesn't pan out like that. Like, it's funny because... Those of you that watch Glass Half Dead's channel know that he always seems to lose as well when he plays a battle report on his... I really want to play against Glass, actually. I think he's coming in February. At least then one of us would break our streak of having to make a video and go, oh yeah, I lost another game. Right, so that would be pretty interesting. I want to talk about LVO. So they have announced the LVO... This has come up today. The LVO preview is going to be at 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Now, that's usually when my alarm goes off and I get out the house for about 7:45 usually. I'm thinking if I get up early and get washed and suited and booted and ready to go, and then I can potentially have that on for 6. Now, in an ideal world, I'd simply live stream, because then I haven't got the overhead of having to do... Like, I haven't got time. I've got to be out the house by, at the latest, 8 o'clock, 8:05. So how long how long is their preview going to go on for? And then how long does it take me to put together a PowerPoint? But it'd be great to get that out the door... just because I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe they're going to show off Soul Shackle. I just look. It was the LVO last year when they showed off Chalnath, right, the third box in the season 1, and now we're at the third box in season 2. So I strongly believe we're going to get the Arbites and the Drukari from Soul Shackle revealed in full. Well, not the rules, but the miniatures revealed in full on Friday. So look for that video. I think I will do a video. I don't think I am going to do a live stream, but I will get a video up on Friday at some point relating to the LVO. Just really flagging that up for you. And if you want to watch it along with me, I'll probably be in the voice channel on the Discord anyway, so you can come and check that out as well if you are up at that time. I don't have the details, but I did notice, even though Warhammer Live are only showing, looks like Age of Sigmar, if you actually go and look at Frontline Gaming, I think there is a different, I think there is a Switch stream of the Kill Team at LVO. If that's something that you want to watch. It's just not being carried on Warhammer Live, as it were. It's being carried on one of the other, or either on the Frontline Gaming main channel, or it's. I think a stream exists. That's really all the information I have. I should probably stop talking. I don't need to do all the YouTube stuff because I did that at the start, but thank you so much. And everybody, especially the members, I appreciate each and every one of you. Things are a bit difficult at the moment. It looks like, I don't want to get into the British nuances, but if you follow the news over here and what's going on, So, yeah. That's all really helpful. Oh, a black screen. We didn't want that. Anyway, that's probably a signal to end the video. So, cheerio, everybody, and thank you very, very much. Cheerio, bye.